Hi friends of I Love Kalihi Vlogs. Today I'm going to share with you my guesting with INC Radio. INC Radio has a show called Faith and Melody, and the latest portion is Faith and Melody Vista. I am their first guest, and among the many things that we talked about with the host, Sister Des Asenas, is how I came up with I Love Kalihi Vlogs. So let's watch this.
World. And this is the segment we call now Faith and Melody Vista. But it's short for Vision Talk Story. So we're going to hear the vision, the point of view, punto de vista of our brethren from different parts of the world. So for today, our very first feature for the segment Faith and Melody Vista is Sister Teda Pilar Pineda. We call her Manang Teda here, and she's from the local of Honolulu, the district of Hawaii Pacific. So, without any further ado, let's go meet Manang Teda here on Faith and Melody Vista. Kuya Pong, thank you very much po. Aloha! Hi, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to our new segment here on Faith and Melody. We're going to go to different houses and meet our brethren from different parts of the world. And we are so blessed to have for today Sister Teda Pilar Pineda from the local of Honolulu here in Hawaii.
Hi po.
Aloha! How are you? How are you?
Okay po.
We call her Manang Teda because here in Hawaii, it's like the Philippines, right? As a custom for calling somebody your
Ate or kuya
right, so
or
as a
manang.
respect, right?
Yes.
And everyone else, cousin. Tell us more, a little something about what you do right now. What is your profession? What are the things that keep you busy?
Okay, so I work at night as a nursing supervisor in elderly place. It's a rehab and nursing center, but mostly for old people, or people that just had heart, surgeries. Then we do rehab in our place, and there are also long-term patients that live there. So anyway, that's my night job, and then during the day I have another job, a part-time, a part-time job in the media, and. So that's what I'm kind of busy about, and whatever church activities. I also do vlogs, so I kind of keep myself busy. So that's just some kind of interest. I just started, so not that many subscriptions, but
You've
it's
already
something I
mentioned-
enjoy.
Yeah, she's already mentioned so many things that she's busy with, and we haven't even started. But I'd like to touch on first on your profession as a nurse. We know that nurses, no, di ba, parang they have different specialization.
Okay, yes.
You can be yung sa pediatrics or whatever. But what made you decide to be in that particular nursing?
Geriatrics.
Geriatrics.
Okay, so when I was in nursing school, of course, part of that, when you're close to graduation, you would be experiencing hospital practice and different specialization, as you say, right? And there was a time that I thought, oh, why am I in here? What really was bad for me was when we were taking care of children, pediatrics. I couldn't handle that. So I realized that after going through the different like psych, other types of specialty, the acceptable part of life is when taking care of the elderly, because it's easier to accept that people go after that. That's the end of life.
Yeah.
So
You are an only child.
I am an only
So
child.
did that play a role somehow?
Oh,
Because,
yeah,
like,
of course.
You are the only one who's
Yes.
trying to look after your parents.
Yes.
Oh wow! But you know, there's a running joke like Filipinos are known worldwide as nurses,
Nurses.
because of our natural what's it the nursing
the
the caring, right, the caring abilities. And,
I didn't plan it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how did you settle into nursing though?
Actually, it's so funny because when I was in high school, I think my parents just kind of let me. No, my mom was like a school teacher back then in the Philippines. But I guess they gave me that freedom to choose what I want to do. I had aunties who are accountants, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll be an accountant. So I tried, taking classes in accounting, and I was okay, but I wasn't really good with math. And then I said, no, maybe not business. And then, as a young immigrant here in Hawaii, I realized that my dental care wasn't so good growing up in the Philippines. So when I got here, I found that there's a place where you can get free dental care. And so I would be there like every afternoon after school. And I thought, oh, dental assisting looks good. Just because I was curious what the dental assistant does. So I actually pursued dental assisting. I was a board certified dental assistant. But, oh, and the funny part is my aunt who helped us to get here, petitioned my dad. She was a nurse, so she would always tell me, be a nurse, because you'll never be out of job. There's always somebody to take care of. Be a nurse like me. And she was doing well, and I said, I don't want to be a nurse. I don't like blood. It's dirty. I was saying that.
In the family, though, are you the only nurse, or it's other than your auntie?
Well, I have a grandma who is a nurse as well. So somehow, like, I don't know if that's, like you said, the running Filipino joke about nurses in the family.
It's like even now, a lot of the people think that if you're Filipino, somehow
It's kind of
you are a nurse.
automatic. Yeah, there's somebody in the family who's
I
a
know,
nurse.
right?
Yeah,
It's like it's not a typical Filipino family if you don't have a nurse.
yeah,
Right?
it's
We're not
funny.
typical- we don't have nurse in the family, but yeah.
It's
That's-
funny, but there's truth to it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually, as I said earlier, it's because of our natural abilities and the caring aspect of it. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's in the culture.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're really hospitable and all that. So, you also said that you moved here
Yes.
to Hawaii.
I was
So,
born
where you-
and
yeah, where
yeah, I
you
was
from?
born and raised in Bacolod, Negros Occidental.
Batiin mo mga tanan gid na mga igsuon.
Igsoon is
Hindi na pala.
is Cebuano.
Sorry. Ano ba
Mga utod.
yun?
Kumusta? Kumusta? Spanish naman.
We're in Bacolod. The Bacolod City.
Bacolod mismo,
Okay.
Bacolod City.
And then you moved here at what
And
age?
I was 15 when I came here with my parents.
So you have awareness by the time that you're moving.
Oh, yes.
15,
Yes.
semi-adult na
In
yun
fact,
eh.
I didn't really want to come here because I had friends, you're a teenager. It's not easy when you're a teenager to be uprooted, right? So I didn't really want to go. So I was telling my parents, oh, just go and then just send me money. Thinking that it's like as if it's so easy, just because,
Like that, right?
the mentality when you go
Let's
to America.
Down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just send me money. And my mom said, no.
15, did you finish high school in the Philippines?
No, I was third year high school in
that's
the
even harder.
Philippines. So, um, when I got here, that's equivalent to ninth grade, if I'm not mistaken. So I didn't really skip or miss any grade. But that was like the start of high school here. Like after third year high school, my fourth year would be the first year of high school here.
You get credits.
Oh yeah.
It's
There's
like,
no.
by the time you came here, you're a senior graduating.
No, I did had
year.
4 years of high school here. 9, 10, 11, 12. 12, 4 years is high school here. So yeah, the equivalent, like there's no skipping of years or prolonging or anything. Parang it's just that's the next step. That's the next equivalent of the years of my study.
But how was the transition? So you said you're from Bacolod, you are an only child, then you have to be uprooted and you have to move here to a different country. How was the transition like?
It's a cultural, there's a culture shock. The children here behave very differently. Our way of life in the Philippines is very different from here. Even even in school, the kids here don't stand up. You know, when the teacher would,
No, like even right now, I still do that. Like in meetings, I'll be like, excuse me, and I stand up, right?
yeah. So it's like if the teacher would ask a question and you raise your hand and they would call you, that you just answer. And I'm like, but I would still stand up and answer. And the teacher, the first one, the first teacher that I did that to was so kind of moved. Oh, you don't have to stand up. It's like,
know,
she's like,
right?
oh, thank you, but you don't have to stand up. I don't want the other kids laughing at you. It's okay.
It's like
It's
a
like
mark
that
you're
here.
only
Yeah.
new here. We understand.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't even say sir or to their teacher. They just say the last name.
Sometimes
So-
people by first name if
Yeah.
they're already familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if the teacher's last name is Abe or Mr. Abe, hey Abe.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So you went through all that
So,
at that
yeah.
age. So what can you advise, or what tips can you share with those who went through or who are going to go through the same process?
Oh,
of
like
being uprooted?
migrating
Yes,
to
and then,
Hawaii.
yeah, and then getting
I don't know if I could say the same thing because it's a different. It was in the 80s. That was different.
well.
The culture of, let's just say, okay, the culture of even local Filipinos here back then were really different. Back then, if you're an immigrant like me, as they would say, FOB, fresh off the boat, you're made fun of, you have an accent, or your English is so bad, or you can't speak English for those who come from other countries. But at least for us from the Philippines, we were taught English. So part of that is, people just think because you're from another country that you're not smart enough, and then so even the local Filipinos here kind of look down on us. So if you're an immigrant back then, it was different how they treated you. But later on, when Filipinos, I guess with the internet and all, the stories, the news from the Philippines became global. Oh, this somebody that became popular from the Philippines, all of a sudden, even the local Filipinos started getting proud of Filipinos and they would own it.
Yeah.
And they would say, I'm Filipino too. But before, they would not say they're Filipino. I had a Spanish class, and then the teacher said, okay, each one of you stand up and say what's your ethnic extraction. And then I stood up and I said, Filipino, and then sat down. And the teacher go, are you sure, Maria? And I said, that's it. Because I was upset because I had a classmate who, if we just look at her, she just looks plain Filipino. But she was
mixture of a lot.
Yeah, she was saying she had Spanish. She had,
fourth of this?
yeah, she had
1/6 of that,
Portuguese
I know.
blood. She has Japanese, Chinese. She was like mentioning the whole spectrum.
Okay.
But it was my turn to be called by the teacher, I just stood up and I said Filipino. Then sat back down.
But most of your parents are born and raised also in the Philippines.
Of course, yes.
Do you know what you mentioned earlier, that there's a big like a difference the way you experience things
Yes.
back then and today? But we have a lot of materials online that says there are still a lot of kids who went through the same experience as you are now. They're having that same, like, a cultural what's that called, like an issue, or like an identity crisis.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised because although let's just say they would not be treated like how I was treated, it's still a personal issue when you go to a new place, right? That you don't know anybody except maybe your family. Everything is new, the culture is new, people treat you differently or look at you differently. So it is not easy as an immigrant. And the thing that I would probably say is you don't let anybody tell you you're less.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you have to know yourself enough that you also have abilities. You might not be the smartest, you might not be the prettiest or whatever, but at least like yourself enough and know your abilities. And even if you don't have the ability, you just know that you can work towards succeeding, right? So if people put you down, maybe you don't necessarily have to fight with that person, but just show them by your works and
be yourself.
just do what you can to achieve Yeah,
So you left when you were 15.
15.
How often have you been back to the Philippines?
I think from when I came here in 81, the first time I was able to go home was 1989.
Oh,
And that's because I needed
so I
to
don't
go
know how,
home.
how many years was that?
About
Anyway,
about 8, 9 years.
still a long
Yeah.
time, yeah.
Yeah. So that's because it was our 75th anniversary. So I said, I have to be there. So I made it there.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my first time to go home.
But you never really lost your connection as far as your
Oh,
hometown is
yes.
concerned.
I always.
Let's talk about that now. So
Okay.
you're from Bacolod, but you're now, of course, like a resident, like a full-time Hawaiian resident, if we may say that, no? But then you still maintain that connection with your hometown, and you do a lot of community work as well. How did that come about? So let's talk about that.
Okay, so since I arrived, I think because you do have good friends in the Philippines, and that's pretty much where you feel you belong, you I always kept the connection. We always wrote letters back then because there's no.
So you kept in touch with your
Yes, with
friends.
my
Okay.
classmates. Yes, we wrote the regular long snail mail. I still have some of the
That's
letters
nice.
of my friends. Yeah.
And you
Uh,
wrote cursive, of course.
of course,
They wrote
yes.
cursive.
Yes, back
Okay.
then. We send pictures to each other, like what whatever activity I have here. If I have a picture, I would send it to my letter to them, and vice versa. My friends would. So we kept that communication until there was a time we had a 25th anniversary of our class. So that was like kind of big deal that everybody from outside the Philippines went home. Yeah, so it was a grand reunion
That's the high
because
school class.
yeah, because if you're the 75th, 75th, 25th,
Oh, big deal
if
yan.
you're
Silver, what is that called? Parang
yeah, silver.
That's parang
Yeah, yes. So if it's 25 years, you become the host.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because every year there's a reunion of everybody go and but to us, if it's our year, of course, it was a big deal. We were like donating whatever because we wanted to have a big party, but we collected so much so that we ended up having 3 parties in 3 different hotels.
Okay.
Yeah. So then I told my classmates after that, I said, and we still have a lot of money after that. I said, why don't we put together an organization, an outreach organization? And they go, yeah, 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 but it never got done. So I said, why don't I do it here? Why don't I start? So I just formed it together with some friends here. Maybe about less than 10 of us kind of put it together, and then we got it registered, and then so we started planning what to do and stuff like that. So because of that, we're able to go back and do some little outreach.
And through that organization. And I understand you also brought your children with you. So
Yes.
how was that experience?
Yeah, so I have my children grown and raised here too. And I thought they've never been to the Philippines. And then my parents have never been back at that time because my mom is kind of on the paranoid side. And, news that comes from the Philippines before was always bad.
Yeah.
So my parents didn't really took interest in going, but by that time I told my parents, let's go as a whole family, and we have that little organization already. So when we went, part of that vacation was to go to the mountain area where they have a elementary school there, and children were like wearing slippers, sometimes no slippers, you know. And luckily, we're able to get a donation, like 2 or 3 like balikbayan boxes full of slippers. Yeah, so that's one of those things that we brought with us, and then we also bought them like um big jugs, to prepare for drinks for the children, if they could help feed the children. So, we gave them money, we gave them, milk and whatnot, so that at least it helped the children at that time. So things like that. Um,
And that's also the first time that
That
your
was
children went to the Philippines, or
yeah, that was the
okay.
first time. That was the
Mhm.
first time, and that was my way of teaching them of who they are, because
Mhm.
it's so funny before that, actually, that's another reason why I need to make sure that my children know
Mhm.
their roots,
Mhm.
because they're born here. And you know what kind of triggered that? One day Adara came home and said, Mom, I'm Chinese, right? And I said, what?
Because our eyes are small.
Apparently, growing up, people, friends would tease her, oh, you look Chinese
Oh, yeah.
or Japanese or whatnot, because her hair is like that
Yeah.
little doll.
Mhm.
When she was a
With
bit.
bangs.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So when I heard her say that, I was so sad. I was like, wow, I failed on this. I didn't even teach my children. They don't even know that they're Filipino.
Mhm.
So I had to make sure I said in this trip I will educate them my way. So the best thing that I think I did that kind of taught them was to bring them to museums.
Mhm.
So in the province, I already had contacts there. Actually, the guy who was in charge of one of the museums was the one who toured us pretty much the different museums in the province, in Negros Occidental. There.
So it's not just a tour to like reconnect with their roots, but also
Yeah.
like a historical backgrounder kind of
Yes.
tour for
And
them.
that gave them so much pride that they're Filipino, because it's not anymore, oh, because of so and so, but by just showing them that, they realize, yeah, the history of the country, that before we were colonized, we were already a strong people with our own government, and we had the riches back then. So they're like,
Oh wow, like
yeah,
to be on
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Did you talk to your children about that? The way you felt, the comparison of
In fact, yes, yeah.
the difference in the lifestyle and all that.
Yes, in fact, I didn't really have to teach them.
So
Yeah.
that make you feel that your children are now being part of what you do.
Mm. I think, it doesn't make us any special, but I think it makes us grateful, right?
So
Because we are just fortunate that we have a little extra, and that we were not born to parents, that in that position, right? So I think whenever you're grateful, you have to think, how can you share that gratefulness by sharing what you have? Yeah. So that's basically is the reason why we decided to have that little organization.
and what you do now also, like the duties that you hold inside the church, you are an active buklod officer in the district, and not only that, even if we don't have the titles, Manang Teda is known as Manang Teda in the district. So like when we have activities, it's always like, oh, let's ask Manang Teda what she can do or what she can help, right? So
I
it's always that being available.
that, and maybe because I felt like some ministers back then raised me, you know. Me and my friends, a group of friends, I would always look up to the ministers that at one point or another taught me and my friends to have some, I guess, leadership skills. Not because we're smart or anything, but because they trusted us, and they encourage us to do something for the church. And um, I think trust is very important when you think about it, because even for your child, right? So when you say, I trust you can do this, even you don't have abilities. I remember a minister one time told me, Teda, since you suggested something, you do that. I'm like, oh, I don't know anything. But because you were told, I trust you, you do that, and you're like, I have to.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have to. So you research, you do your own thing, and you find a way.
About it, then
Yeah.
you think it's possible. You can make it
Yes.
happen. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's really true. Although we feel sometimes that when we think of plans or suggestions, we're kind of like we don't want to push it too much because there's a tendency that they will try to you, right? It's like, hey, why are you asking for suggestions? I'm just suggesting. But actually, the mere fact that you were able to think about it, that means you're probably the best person to push it through because you already have a concept. You probably
Maybe.
know how what to do and all that stuff. So take that challenge as well. Don't feel bad like because you suggested and you felt
Yeah.
like I just suggested I shouldn't be the one, but
I
as you
think what
said,
it is in the church is, you know, you have to have the, of course, your faith, right? And you want something good to happen to the church. No matter how small your locale is, you want something to happen. So you will find a way to do things, you know. I remember when I was new here, I like taking care of the bulletin boards. I don't know what it was with bulletin boards. So I became that person that was always designing the bulletin board. Uh, Even just to post pictures of the activity that just happened. Um, I would design, I would put decorations, not just putting pictures in it with the story. And I guess that served me well because later on, when the church already formed the media, then I was part of that too. And the storytelling part and all that. In cinema,
okay.
it's so funny because that was the 50th is coming, and being in Honolulu, the locale outside, the first locale outside the Philippines, we thought, oh, we should come up with something to enter the in cinema um,
Competition.
competition. So that year, our district ended up with three movies. Yeah, and one of them is what I wrote. And the funny thing is, when I wrote, I look around to have somebody direct. Nobody wants to direct, so I ended up being the director. And then,
Might as well.
yeah, and then, you know, everybody. I actually asked the locale for help, so they, that I had the locale is, you know, behind me to
And she
complete
also
it.
dances. You
That's
remember
it.
in the 50th?
Oh, well, I guess part of being a Kadiwa back then is you do everything. If you're part of that program as, uh, as designer or whatever, putting together the program, you're gonna end up being the performer as well. So, we grew up either we're singing, we're dancing, so that by the 50th, I told myself this would be my last, my last
Well, we
performance.
at least for that. But a lot of the things that you've done in when you were younger, especially your duties and responsibilities inside the Church of Christ, you're still doing that now. It's like, or even you've even gone to into other projects as well. How do you? I mean, is that really naturally something that you wanted to do, or you just got into that because you said you wanted to help the church, and then you just pushed on and just
Yeah, I think that
participated.
part of, the word, that Tagalog word, hasa,
Nahasa,
nahasa.
trained, or
Yeah, because like back again in my days, there were ministers who were really excellent in teaching and making us do things, to have activities. We are happy in the church. We do things. We have arts. We have, all these cultural things, or even just exhibits. Oh, that's one of my things because, I guess like back then, I like doing bulletin boards, displaying of photos, you know.
you
That's
did
part of
several
my
like
thing. Yeah.
galleries or exhibits.
Yeah. Somehow.
Which was your most like the most surprising and your favorite from the ones that you did?
Well, I don't know if it's surprising because that was the anniversary, pre 50th. Remember, it's like a year before.
Yeah,
We have a lot of activities, and
2013. Yeah.
and that was at Blaisdell. But that was more a well part of the design of each district already. Remember, there's a program,
Yeah.
and the songs were pretty much all the same in each district. and the display of INC Life is part of that.
Like a photo gallery.
Yes, but I was in charge of that as well. I guess because they're used to me already doing that, and so I've been doing it all the time.
Did you pass that on to any one of your children, or any, like, do you see anyone in your locality say, "Oh, I'm gonna train you, so this and that, this and that"?
No, I don't know if I believe in training. I think I believe more in having everybody come and help.
Yes.
And
Sure. And
hoping,
experience
yes,
it. Yeah.
and hoping that because they have been exposed to help, that later on they can do it on their own. Yeah, it's not an actual formal passing on of the baton, as they say, but it's more like if you encourage the younger people to come help you, they will learn to do things, and later on they can even do better than you, which is always good for the church. Improvement is always better. So that's all I did. The Honolulu display, yeah.
Yeah, where you had
53rd.
yeah, the
53rd anniversary in the West.
pictures of that one, right?
Yes.
Kind of like recreated the what was it back then, and even that, when we were trying to also not really redesign, but trying to clean up the museum, and the first where the first worship service was held, right? You had a big part in what's that called, like a reenactment, or the recreation of the
That was the
almost
45th 45th
45th?
anniversary.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember, your son was one of the actors.
Yes.
Yes, I had a chance to write the script for the program. You write the script to help tell the story, and the songs will be in between the storyline. Yeah, that's why.
The the musical presentation that we presented to Brother Eduardo V. Manalo after
The
the dedication of
dedication
the
of
House of Worship of the local of Wahiawa,
Waiwa.
which I am a part of, and she mentioned that we had a like a video presentation.
I wrote the script so that we were able to film a video to the storyline, and how when we presented the program, it was a video and then the song, a video, a song.
Were original, right?
Yeah, because that was from Central.
Yeah.
That was directly from Central.
What was it in you that said, "Let me do it. I think I can do it"?
To me, I was fortunate to be given the opportunity to do something for the church, and that's why it becomes a very important thing when the ask tells you do something, because again there's that trust, and you're like, you don't want to fail, not for yourself but for the church, right? And I still remember one minister who used to tell us, when you do something for the church, it's for God, so you cannot make it mediocre. You do your best and pray and ask the brethren to help you so that it will turn out well as much as it could. Yeah.
And you did all that despite the fact that you already have a full-time job, and then another part-time job, and of course you're juggling family, personal life as well. So what can you uh, give us advice to everyone who's probably similarly situated? How were you able to accomplish all this, and how do you feel about it?
I think it has to do with interest. What are your interests, right? So right now, district have different activities, and a lot of young people are taking care of it. So which is very good. I'm hardly needed there. So I have a little time to do my other interests, which is now I'm starting to vlog. Yeah, but then in my vlog, I'm always making sure that if I do mention about the church, it's always in a good light. That I'm introducing the church to people who are watching it, who are non-members. So that's one of the things, you have to be responsible, just like anything else that you put out in social media, that the church will always be the forefront, you know. The church is always the star. It's not you. And no matter how small your following, it doesn't matter.
And now that you mentioned the vlog, the title of the vlog, how did you come up with the title of the
Okay.
vlog, and what is it all about? And you mentioned the church, so you use this as well as a propagation tool.
Okay, it's called I Love Kalihi Vlogs.
Why Kalihi? Why is Kalihi?
Kalihi.
Teda, Kades, Kalihi.
Kalihi is the neighborhood around the area where the Honolulu Chapel is located. So it's still part of Honolulu, but just like any big city, there is, areas, right? So Kalihi is one of them. And because back then, Kalihi is the neighborhood wherein all the immigrants would end up, or when they arrived, they'd end up in Kalihi. It has that connotation of being a ghetto, like the ghetto of Hawaii, or
Though of the Philippines,
yeah,
but somehow
yeah,
it has character of
and
its own.
maybe the other reason also is that when the government decided to come up with low income homes, they built it in this area. So
So this is like the highly populated community
yes,
here on
yes,
Oahu.
yes, Wahoo,
Yeah,
yes. And it's not a puzzle when you think about it. Why was the church, you know, um, this
this is
is
the very first chapel was
yes,
established
because all those people that migrated to Hawaii, they ended up in this neighborhood,
here.
and then that's when they ended up finding each other as INC, and that's why Honolulu was the first locale, because they end up meeting here in this neighborhood. And some are like, one was like working as a barber, the story of the pioneers of the church in Hawaii.
So it's all about the stories of Kalihi.
Yeah, so I
This is
feel
your
like when
neighborhood.
I arrived here, this is where I also ended up. And then over the years, even when, our income improved, when we start all working and all that, when we decided to buy a home, a lot of people would look for the neighboring suburbs with nice new homes to buy. But for us, we stayed here because we felt comfortable here, and we felt like this neighborhood had been kind, although it has a bad connotation. We never had been robbed or anything. We never had any bad issues that happened to us.
And it feels and looks a lot like Philippines. I think I would say that it's like every time I come over, I have that feeling of like I'm home. Like this is
There's so
how.
many Filipinos in the
Yeah, not
neighborhood.
only that, even the houses, right? The setup, the atmosphere, everybody kind of looks like me because there's a lot of Filipinos here, right? And then I
A
see
lot
a
of
lot.
karaoke.
Yes, and
On weekends.
Tagalog speaking, Ilocano speaking. So
Yes.
this is like our little
Yeah.
Philippines here
Yeah.
in
So I
Oahu.
just feel that I need to change that perspective, that people always think that, oh, Kalihi, Kalihi lang or whatever. To me, Kalihi had been kind to me and my family all these years, and this area is the center of this island. In fact, it's so easy to travel from here to Ala Moana, to Waikiki, to the east side, the leeward side and all that. And it's so convenient for everything. The malls are nearby and all that. You know, 5 minutes to the chapel or less, So we love it here. And I felt like I needed to create something, a positive perspective to it. So I started with I Love Kalihi page in social media, and then later on, in fact, I started a blog at one point, as in I wrote stories. So that was on internet as well with the same title. And then later on, since vlogging had become popular during this pandemic, I decided to do my vlogging as well. And so I decided just keep the name so that whatever stories I put out there, I can always connect it to Kalihi. And hopefully people will discover it and will subscribe to it. And I would have, more subscribers to tell my story. Because like I said, my story includes everything about me, which includes about my faith. And hopefully more people will check out the church as well when I talk about why I was happy this way, why, because of this and that has to do with my faith. Yeah.
And of course, doing that, something that you love, what did that bring to you personally? Doing a vlog like this, showing what Kalihi is all about, what people can expect from here, and of course, as a vehicle to introduce the church to the whole world.
Because vlogging is now common, and for me it's an self-expression. It brings me some joy. Yeah, of course we want to have subscribers, right?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? But I feel like as long as you put out good quality as much as you can, episode, um it's my way of telling stories to people I can't reach in my own neighborhood and beyond, because it's online. So hopefully I would be able to say good things about this neighborhood, and things that I learned, and people that have done well, that have been part of this neighborhood, and including my faith. I would say the name of, Iglesia ni Cristo in Kalihi and blah, blah, blah. Right? So,
You do everything. Like you film yourself, you edit.
film myself and I edit
Oh wow!
myself.
See,
Yeah.
so this is something that you've already, like a skill that you've developed through the years, through
Because of the church.
Yes, right.
Everything I am, everything I learned is about the church. In fact, even my profession, I would always credit the church because, again, you don't think that you have all the abilities, but because in the church, you grow to be a leader. The church help you to be a strong individual, to be, when I say strong in the faith, I mean not a very aggressive person or anything, but just being able to get things done, and no matter what oppression there is, that you go, you're able to overcome that, and you still come out being a positive person. And so whatever I learned, even getting a good, even getting a promotion at work, I know that came from how I was raised in the church. Whatever leadership qualities I have from the church, I brought that at work, right? And it surprises me, because even on my first year in my job, I was already offered, assistant supervisor job position, and I'm like, why? No. I know I'm so new and all that, and later on I ended up being assistant. Later on, I became the supervisor, and until now I'm still in that position. But I think the church is really what
Main
is
instrument.
yeah, it's
It paved the way for you to new.
it's a human maker. It's human, meaning everything, every aspect in a human, in a person. The church makes you that. If I wasn't born in the church, I was a convert. I was already 12, I think, when I was introduced to the church.
And you met my dad in Bacolod.
Yes, her dad
We gotta
was
show you pictures. Yeah.
her dad was a minister assigned to our locale at one point.
So at 12, you were converted to the church.
Because of my dad. Yeah. My dad was converted by a coworker, just because of how the coworker was.
Yes. So that's something that we all um experience, and we really thank the church administration for opportunities like that. So as a final thought, what can any special message you'd like to say to the church administration, having mentioned that you what you are now is through the guidance and through the opportunities given by the church administration as guided by our Lord God?
Mhm. Um, t- to the church administration, I will always be grateful, po. I think the church administration is, it's amazing how they can show how much they love each one of us. That even if we don't know them personally, although some of us may know them personally, which, those brethren are very fortunate, but you don't need to be known by the church administration personally. But in everything that they do, when they preach, I think if we only listen, it's always for each one of us. They're not preaching just to a sea of nothing. These are people who listen to what they say. And when they say something, it's always out of love and concern, that they don't want any of us to fail in the faith, that we will end up be left behind, right? So I would wish the church administration the health, the dedication, and the love that they have to continue, that they will not, no matter what they go through, because we know they go through other, issues as well, whether we know it or not. They also have problems, that they will always have the strength to continue, and that may they have all the energy that they will need, because the church is so big and it's worldwide. And I can't imagine how maybe frustrating it is for them not to physically visit us in the 2 years that we had the pandemic, because we can feel the love that they have for the church, for the brethren. And yeah, um we can only promise that we can only do our best to stay in the church, not to do anything that would jeopardize our faith, our connection with you, po. And that if we do fail at times, may we will not be lost forever. That they may have the patience and understanding to forgive us. That they will continue to pray for us too, right? So that we will not be given to the enemy. That even if we fail at times, that we are not forever be lost. That we will always have the understanding and the faith to hold on, and never give up, even when trials come. We all have our own family and whatever issues that we go through. We all are being tested, and for the times that we were able to succeed, we are grateful. And for mine, anyway, I am grateful that part of my success was the church administration in so many levels. I mean, even just when the church administration would tell the ministers, "Oh, visit the brethren," and you're part of that being visited. That's how they reach out to us. So I don't take that lightly, and I will I'm always grateful po.
Thank you. We really appreciate you opening your home to us, opening your heart and sharing your story. And we share your gratitude to the church administration for everything that you've experienced. You get to learn and being able to share that as well, and also help out the church administration in many other projects and events. Thank you very much for letting.
Po.
It's okay. We learned a lot, and we really enjoyed the story. So, aloha ohana. This is Manang Teda Pineda. So, if you're in the Kalihi area, do check out her vlog, please, and follow all the stories, not just about her Kalihi, but of course the goings on also here in Hawaii. Thank you, Manang Teda.
That was Manang Teda Pineda from Honolulu, Hawaii.